Thank you, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. I got that message. Thank you, Sophia. Okay, so we're going to do some work tonight, but I like to make it fun, so I hope you bring that into whatever we do right from the beginning. You know, that's our intention, that what we're doing here is conducting ourselves into a focus in detachment and freedom. And we're going to start out by looking at what would in some way get in the way of attachment. Oh, I just said it, didn't I? Or get in the way of detachment. What is it? Attachment, okay. So just take a moment to think about whatever that might be. Anybody got any ideas? Any kind of attachment. Anybody deal with that on the way over here?
Attachment to thinking I'm in control.
You're in control, okay. Attachment to that, so then if something comes along that demonstrates you're not so in control, then that would maybe show you where your attachment is, yeah?
Attachment that there should be less traffic.
Okay, so you're still attached to that, huh? Okay, well, no wonder you live in a place like this, huh? I frequent one too, on the other side of the land. Yes?
Attachment to being right.
To being right, okay. Does anybody have attachment to being wrong? Sometimes that shows up. Yeah, okay. So we could detach that, yeah.
Attachment to work.
To work. Okay, anybody attached to play? Okay, all right, yeah, got to have that. In the back?
Attachment to wanting love from others.
Wanting love from others, yeah. And maybe, how about anybody attached to wanting love from yourself? Okay, yeah, there we go. Maybe some of these attachments are good ones to have, you know, that we would work towards whatever we're attached to have. We'll do a couple more. Yes?
Attachment to
Social
social justice.
justice, okay. When I was a kid, I was kind of attached to social injustice, you know, a little bit there, like particularly when I was in a classroom. What else?
Attachment to my marriage.
Your marriage, okay. All right, I'm going to see if Roger, are you ready for the moment of peace? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to choose this moment to share from our founder, John Roger. And we have collected amazing moments over the years with our travels with JR in various places. This one's from a place called Rwanda. And let's see what JR has to share with us. We'll be taking the lights down here as well.
We were coming to see in Africa the most primordial things we could see, the most primordial behavior, in a sense trying to find out who we are in our primordial behavior and essence. And the reason we failed so miserably is because we're not part of anything that's been going on in any line genetically of zebras or wildebeests or warthogs or elephants or dolphins. We're the human experiment that's going on. And we will only succeed in the human experiment when we start doing what humans do. The same way the gorillas are a success, and the reason why we don't have a continuation of all the ancient things is they completed their experiment. And I think the thing that we loved in them was the tenderness of the eyes in almost all of the animals, and the tenderness of looking in people's eyes and seeing our own basic selves. And that lower consciousness, that little kid in there. Like some of us who saw the real little gorilla, your heart goes out to it, and I think mother in all of us comes out and goes, I could mother that one. I'd like to close this with just a very short excerpt from a poem that probably would exemplify what I've been talking about. There's a lot more that goes before this, but it comes towards the end that says, freedom and reason make us men. Take this away, what are we then? Mere animals are just as well, because beasts may think of heaven or hell. Berush Beshan.
I was on that trip, and I've actually been, it's a mountainous region in the area of Rwanda, and then it borders with Uganda and the Congo. And I think there's about, well, last I heard, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 remaining of these mountain gorillas, this particular species. So, you know, that's an attachment to keeping them around, even though Jared was mentioning their experiment is done, which may in some way explaining why they're waning in numbers in some way. But apparently we're not done because we keep showing up. So, yeah, one of the opportunities that we all have is to move ourselves along the continuum of either more attachment or more detachment. Do you have any idea which direction you'd like to take, where you're going to frequent attachment or detachment? Okay, I was hearing little squeaks, so let me do it as a survey here. So how many of you would say detachment? Okay, anybody saying I'd rather be in attachment? Okay, there's somebody back there. Because sometimes, I mean, if you're attached to nice things, maybe it helps you acquire them, you know, things like that. So that becomes something that you focus on, you create a drive. A drive can become a commitment, it can become a compulsion, it can become an obsession. What goes after that? Something like addiction. I have to have it. But then where does freedom go when we're moving more and more into attachment? So if you value freedom, which would be availability to everything, can you see that? That if we're in freedom, in some way we're available. We may not choose to be involved, but at least we're open or available to other pursuits or other involvements. So if that is something you'd like to consider. There's also an opportunity in what we're doing in the movement of spiritual inner awareness, which is we're here. That's where we are. I'm looking at the camera, and I'm going to check back here. Are we still offline? It didn't work out? Okay. So our intention, in case you know somebody who is going to watch this online, is to make this available as soon as we can, which could be hours, possibly? Okay. So at some point, we'll make the workshop available online, given that it's working. So for those of you later, that we have an opportunity to let go. And what words do you think of when we say let go and let God? Okay. So if we move along in that continuum into being free with what things or focuses that we might be attached to, if that statement has some meaning, you know, that it has some kind of reality, that if we really truly let go, if we open ourselves into a state of detachment, then in some way we're allowing God to be fully activated or fully realized, fully available, or we are available to that. So that's one way I would look at what we're doing tonight, is we're playing towards activating God in our experience. But it still leaves room for attachment. Is there anybody here that would consider you don't have any attachment? You don't deal in attachment? You never want anything or desire? It's just constant, whatever. It all works the same for me. And that, to me, is if we had no attachment, we wouldn't really, in a sense, care. So I think it's ordinary. It's part of the human experience to have some kind of interest that then it can become, well, I really like that, then I really want that, then I desire that, and at some point maybe we're setting ourselves up for what happens when we don't get what we really want. Anybody had any kind of that experience go on where you don't really get what you want or you don't get what you expect? How would you describe that? And I'll open it up to anybody. When you don't get what you want, what? Frustrating. Okay, and you go, I know what that is. I've had frustration. And maybe it's almost like you could teach the class now. Or any other experiences that would identify what happens when we don't get what we expect or want. Sad. Okay. So the experience that goes along with, I really want that and then I don't get it. Or I'm attached to that. Yes. Infuriated. Okay. I think that was the voice of experience I just heard. Maybe going on right now, which possibly is the case. Is anybody being distracted by not having something, just being here tonight, like you're aware you're distracted by something that you really want, that keeps taking you, let's say, out of the room? You're thinking about other things? Yeah. That's one of the ways we would know we're not in our freedom, is that we're not here, or we don't seem to be able to be available to what we're involved in, because what we're attached to has some part of our energy. That's another opportunity that we're going to have to look at, is when we have energy on what we want, such that we're attached, that often we're not fully available to what we're doing. So if we were able to take back that desire, that attachment, and what it's like the energy that comes back from detaching, we might experience a lot more energy, a lot more presence with ourselves. So we're going to do an exercise. I'm going to go ahead and introduce it along with my assistant. Could I have my assistant come present? Do we have a microphone somewhere available? Yes, please. Bring that up. So this is my assistant, and she just so happens to be my wife as well, Lee Taylor Young. So I'm in training. She's teaching me how to do these things.
Oh, that's just not true.
So you're all going to have an opportunity to, I'm going to flip a coin.
Do I need glasses?
No, you don't need glasses. You can see perfectly.
That's right.
That's right. So when I flip my coin,
Okay.
I want you to call heads or tails, and that will tell us how we're going to perform this exercise. You got it?
Mm-hmm. Tails.
Okay, so we're going to do this in threesomes. Okay, we had an opportunity where we would do it in with two, but we're going to do it in threesomes. So that would mean when you move your chairs and find your partners, there would be two partners, and then a third person would be sitting with you. So the idea was you'd be three of you sitting together, two of you facing each other, and then one person kind of perpendicular nearby. And then one person is going to read the questions for this demonstration. I'll do that. And then another person is going to be responding to the questions. And then the third one is, for the time being, an observer, and then we'll rotate roles. So here's how this works, and if you want to follow along, you hopefully all have a sheet. That's up to you. The first question, or actually it's a statement, name an area of attachment for you where you'd like to have greater freedom inside.
I'm very attached to a home or our home.
Is there something you want or an expectation that you have in this situation?
Well, I think it's the picture I want would be something that where we stay for a while.
Right. Stay neutral when you're going through these questions. What are you afraid of losing, or what are you afraid of not having or not getting?
Feels like the word losing would be sort of losing time that I would prefer not to spend on all the things that go with moving. I'd prefer to travel with you, to look at the birds in the sky, and not pack and label boxes and wonder where we're going.
What are you attached to regarding this situation? Let's describe it that way. There's 3 words that would describe what it is, so this situation.
Say that again, please.
What are you attached to regarding this situation?
I'm attached to my view, or my I guess my view of something solid, lasting, as a solid nest base. Does that make sense?
I'm just here to ask the questions.
It's very warm up here.
What is it you really wanted?
What is it I really wanted?
Or want?
Want.
Yeah.
That sense that it doesn't matter an external circumstance, that it's all fun, it's how I view it, and anything can look solid. It's my inner attitude. I could feel solid packing boxes. I could feel solid in a sense of adventure. I could feel solid trusting God. That's it. Just trusting God that the highest good is being done.
What would you need to let go of to get this?
Well, my attachment to how I think it makes me comfortable, or attachment to the idea I have of what would make me feel like I have a nest when it's really inner.
How can you let go and bring greater freedom to your experience, inwardly and outwardly?
I could let go just the joyful feeling of turning it over to God, knowing that God has my best interests. I really know that, so it's like letting go to what I'm kind of holding on to in my view, and just give it to God, a bigger view.
Okay. So we just did 1 round of all 7 parts to the process. There's likely going to be more time because we're going to give you each about 8 minutes for your turn, when it's your turn. And then we rotate so everybody has a chance to be in each position. So we have the person responding, we have the person going through with the 7 parts of the process, then we have the observer. And then we'll give you an opportunity later to share about that experience with each other. So I'm just going to take a moment with you to go through basically the approach we're taking to do the process. So there's going to be 3 of you. That's what we'll set up as a time process. We're going to have our famous gong, I think, on hand tonight. Is it available? You want to let them hear the gong? All right. Some of you really respond to that whenever you hear that in your life. You know that means let's go, or time to stop. So when it's time to start, we'll play the gong. When it's time to stop, we'll play the gong. We'll let you know about rotating your roles. When it's your turn to respond, this process is for you. So take in the question And even if in some ways the question doesn't seem to make sense, I encourage you to just say what comes to mind, to trust that that part of you that wants to have more experience with your detachment and freedom is present, and it's going to help you realize whatever that is for you, that would let go of the attachment and then bring you more into an experience of your detachment and freedom. It's not about whoever's asking the problem, or I should say the parts of the process, the questions. I don't need to understand. We've actually done this exercise when two people speak different languages, and it still works. So it's not about that you understand or comprehend what it is. When Lee says, "Does that make sense?" Not important. If it makes sense to you, and then just keep going through the 7 parts. If the gong hasn't played, then continue starting at the top. So you might have a chance to go through all 7 parts, maybe 2-3 times before it's time to move on to someone else's turn. Does anybody have a question about how we do the process?
If you go through the process and you still have more time, so do you do the same process again, or you try to keep one and come up with another?
Okay, so the question is about when you go through and you start over with the same 7 parts, do you do the same subject or would you change subject? Again, I would just see what comes to mind. If it's the same response, then you can go through. My experience doing processes like this is it changes up. It rarely ever becomes the same thing, but if it does become the same response, that's meaningful. That you're telling yourself something, that there's something in your life that clearly is there for you to look at and be aware of.
Would you say what the third person does, please, again?
Observer, but we're going to rotate. So each person's going to have a chance. What's that?
The gong will tell us when to rotate also?
I'm going to tell you. Or maybe somebody like me. But I'm going to help you know when to turn. So yes, the gong is involved, but I'm going to also help you rotate when it's a different role for you. In back?
And I'm guessing the observer just observes?
Yes, that's a really fine idea. I love that idea. But also, it would be good, because later you're going to have an opportunity to share about the experience, and maybe you observe something that would be helpful for the person in their learning and whatever experience is going on. And sometimes you have a very deep experience while you're observing. That may be the most important part of the exercise for you, is when you're in the observation role. Okay, I know there's tape on the floor and a rug, but are we okay if we move the chairs around? I just want to make sure that there's not an issue about moving the chairs around. And I know we have a lot of empty chairs, and maybe we'll take care of that. But I'd like you to find 2 partners and form a threesome right now. You can move your chairs. If you are looking for a partner, raise your hand. And those of you who are looking for partners, get together. Who needs one partner? Who needs one partner? You just need one? So I see 3, maybe one group could split up.
He's working with the Brox.
I'm now available.
So again, anybody looking for a partner at this point? Okay, you want to join a group, is that right? Anybody looking for a partner? Okay, I see Paula, and can I get either a Jackie or an Angel? We're looking for a partner. We've got Paula, and is Joni available? Okay, right over here. Okay. We have some preparation, so if you would give me your attention. I'm going to check, does every group, you only need one of these sheets, but any group need one of these sheets? Okay. All right. So I'm going to let you figure out who is going to respond first, and let's say it's going to be one of the two people facing each other right now. So, okay. Again, we'll start when we hear the gong. Would you like to turn up the volume on how powerful and important this exercise becomes for you? Okay. All right. We're about to do that. We're going to bring in the light more fully into our awareness so that each of us, all of us together, have an opportunity to be more conscious of what our attachments are, with the opportunity to turn toward our freedom. And when you go through this process with your partner, with yourself, you have the opportunity to deepen your experience with your freedom, with everything that comes with the freedom and the awareness of that presence we call God. So your divine nature is being turned up into your awareness right now. And what we're asking for is for you to let go, for you to detach. So as the attachments come up, it's an opportunity to be free in your awareness with those attachments and be more conscious of this freedom as a divine experience. We ask for the light now that comes through the Christ and the Holy Spirit, that it's here with each one of us, all of us together, that there's a blessing that comes through the traveler consciousness for you to let go, for you to observe and move into your liberation. We do this serving the highest good of all concerned, and we give thanks. So be it. So in a moment you'll hear the gong, and that's meaning to begin with the first person responding, and the next gong will complete and move on and change roles.
What are you attached to regarding the situation?
All right, there's the gong that would complete the first person in your group going through the responses to the process. So we're gonna switch roles, and I think the easiest way is just switch chairs. So let's do clockwise. We'll find out how many people still know what clockwise means. It would be something like from the left to the right. Okay. I figure you worked it out, and here you go. Take an opportunity now to open yourself up even more to being aware of any attachments and letting those attachments go. So you're more aware of your freedom, you're more aware of the divine presence that we know is God. And when you hear the gong, you begin. Okay, we just had another turn, so now is the third person in your group turn. Some of you already know what clockwise is again. Yes, we'll go clockwise. You can switch chairs. Once again, take a moment to be open, to be aware of the light, to be aware of the attachments, and to be aware of the freedom. And when you hear the gong, begin.
Preliminary detachment. What you'd like to have right.
Okay, that gong would tell us we've all had our turns now. So take a moment to share about your experience, your process, maybe some learning, maybe whatever you observed with your partners, whatever comes present for you to share with your partners. We'll take about 5 whole minutes to cook the ingredients of what's been brewing here with our observing of the attachments and letting go into freedom. So go ahead, take some time to share. All right. There's more. I'm going to read something from, you can have a few more minutes later, but we're going to move on. You can have as long as you want. Here's something from our friend John Roger. I think I'll switch mics here for a second. Is that working? Sounds like it. I take all of my mind, my emotions, my body, my memory, my anything, and I take them from wherever they are out there in the world, and I bring them back home inside of me. Then I get up and I walk in wholeness or holiness of who I am, and I allow other people to do the same thing. The habit of letting ourselves exteriorize has to be brought under a new conscious control where we're bringing it back inside. So we're going to do that for a moment here. If you dare, go ahead and close your eyelids. So we're going to do an inner process. And let's consider for a moment again whatever comes to your mind about your attachments. Maybe they're about other people. Situations. Those situations could be where you work. Where your interests are, what you like to do in your so-called free time. It could be about ideas. What seems to be right or wrong. What you believe in. What you trust. What you don't trust. And be sure to include any attachments you have toward yourself. About how you look at yourself. Now let's just take a moment to bring that inside you to a place that embraces all of those attachments in a wholeness. So you completely embrace, observe, accept. And in the acceptance, there's also an opportunity to love, to forgive, and with whatever remains, you can let go, you can release, you can give it up. That there's a presence that would take the energy of that attachment. So you're free. And let's consider this energy has holiness. It's sacred. And it's a presence that loves you unconditionally, without reserve, without attachment. And take a moment to experience this presence as an energy that floats, that is buoyant, that moves in harmony. So it's flowing. And then we just come into this experience that within you is always a presence that's flowing, always a free state that loves all, lets everything go into its own movement, into its own flow. It's a place within you. So it's not about anything in the world. It's simply a free state within you that loves all, forgives all, blesses all. Beirish Beshan. Here's another quote from John Roger. It's flowing energy. And the question is, what is freedom to you? It's flowing energy that just flows through you. You're in freedom when you are in the flow. Freedom is not a state of nothingness, it's a state of no-thingness. So there's nothing pushing you because you are in the flow of energy. Then you just transform or regenerate all the time. If you'd like, you can turn your chairs and maybe take a moment to thank your partners as you do that. All right, I'm going to share some information with you about a kind of a survey we took about attachments and where they tend to show up in life. So it's kind of a list, so they're in areas of a sort. And I know this is not the end-all list, so you may have many more ways you would express it. So the first is we get attached in beliefs and ideas, just whatever they are, you know, that we can find out we don't even know what to call these beliefs, we're just attached. So that if something happens in life that seems to be contrary to our belief or our idea, we become aware of our attachment. In areas like politics, religion, social issues, family, lovers, friends, enemies, neighbors, the boss, that list can go on. Pets, animals, the environment, things like the home, the car, the clothes, our work, our hobby, sports, interests, those kinds of things, what we do in our so-called free time. Eating, drinking, pleasure, sensual things, our emotions, our drama. Sometimes we're attached to conflict, like we have to take a position that's different or something like that. Avoidance of confrontation, Maybe some of you are familiar, like there's some island that you can live on where you're never involved, or you don't have to take a position. And something like recognition, to be right, approval, opinions. Did some of those touch upon your experience? Okay. I'd like to, take a few minutes with what we have remaining for this evening to just consider, whatever your experience is with your freedom. Maybe you're more aware of where you'd like to go with your freedom, and if there are any issues or concerns that you have about your attachments or letting go, we could take a look at that. Sometimes maybe that's in the form of a question or something like that. So if you'd like to share, raise your hand. I'll consider whoever has their hands raised. And I'm going to go in the back here, and would like it if you'd start out with your name.
My name is Court, and I was actually pretty surprised by the process, and I found that, like, I'm very much, experienced energetically, with people in my work, that type of thing, and I found that I was controlling energetically what people do around me, and it was, and inside of me the same thing, because I was doing it inside of me, and it was actually wonderful to see, like, okay, I can, my focus is just really, it's like, let people be free around me, not to try to manipulate or change, or, in a way it was, and the word that came, it was funny, it was, in a way it was like, I'm being of the focus was, in a way, was to be of service by moving energy. And it was like, no, it's like, let that go and just let people be free, and whatever the energy that moves is fine, but it's completely free, and they can participate or not, or, it's like, it was just really nice. It was great. I was like,
so this is something you put into effect where you work? Is this something you have put into effect, or is this something you'd like to put into effect?
No, I'm putting it in effect. I'm already doing it.
Okay.
It's like, I find inside of me, I'm just like, I've actually just pulled back. I'm still figuring it out, because it's not like I've pulled it back, but I'm not, it's like just letting, people's energy.
How's it working so far?
It feels great. It feels really good.
Okay.
If you have any more information about it, or if anything comes forward for you, that'd be great.
One of the practical parts of doing this is that we're not making it wrong, like you should never be attached again. That's not the point here. The point is that there may be experiences that if you're aware of your attachments, then you're also aware of the choice to let go or to have more freedom in what you're involved in. And there's just a variety of ways that would work, that you would have awareness about where do you want to participate, what is the experience you're looking for, and then just be aware of how it works for you, like practically. Around people that we really deeply care about, or I'm sure things, I have never found it possible to be completely detached, unless it's like I'm unconscious, like literally unconscious. That's about the only way it works. But then, have you ever been brought out of a state of unconsciousness so that it's like you're amazed at your awareness that something that you are attached to is calling your attention, where you wake up and realize things. So it's very powerful when we're aware of these attachments. Anything else, Court?
No, that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. There's a microphone coming from your right there.
Thank you. My name is Nelly, and I came for one issue, which is on my way to feel really totally happy. And I got some clarity about my projection, what should look like with my son. And today I had found out that working 20 years in Greenwich, Connecticut, I picked up the image for him, which he's not matching to, that he should be in a gray suit with a tie, taking a train, working in Manhattan, making really, really good money as everybody around, and he's not. So I'm still working on this, and what I will do with this, and I got some freedom with that, I will wait till it will be online.
How about if you had a blue suit, would that still fit, or does it have to just be gray?
No, not necessarily, but this is the image. And I will do it when it will be online, and I would like to go deeper and deeper in gaining much more freedom with that. I love the processes online. This works for me, but today I drove here. I took a train here, I dragged myself here. I have to go to make more free with this big thing for me, and I'm getting there. So thank you very much for bringing this workshop.
Okay. If we take that microphone and pass it right over here, or maybe there's another one over there somewhere, and right there, yes? If you stand up, it's easier to find out where you are. Actually, I'm going back there, yeah. There we go.
Hi, John. My name is Cheryl. In bringing up just a few issues in the process, all of a sudden it tapped into this amazing attachment I have to the way my life was, and so much has changed recently. So many things have fallen by the wayside. And I have this feeling that I want more to fall by the wayside, like something new is opening up, something yet to be discovered, some next level of being in the world, outwardly as well as inwardly. But I find myself attached to a few little things, a few big things like my home. So my question is, how do I move forward with more freedom to be truly open to what's in store, and discriminating what has to go and what can stay?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a question. If you had no thing, I think we read that right? Yeah. No thing and no thingness in your life, could you handle it?
No thing. It's funny, the first thing that comes up is the phenomenal number of physical things that I own. And that is one of my issues, like how much am I ready and willing to let go of? Could I handle it if I had no thing or no
nothing that was attached to you? And, in other words, no possessions, nothing that belongs to you. You don't have title, you don't have a bank account.
Can I have an RV?
You see what starts happening? But there's some level of this that you could handle it if you're still breathing. So consider that. Would you still be able to get water, oxygen, food? Just consider that at some level you would handle it. And what we really don't know is, would you like it better than the way you are now? Because you'd have to go into the experience to really find out.
Well, I mean, imagining that right now as best I can, it makes me really happy. I mean, to feel that ultimate freedom.
And sometimes if we'll do an exercise like this just in the mind, so you just let your mind entertain it, then it will help move your attachment so that you could see, well, where would the best place be for me to be with my involvements? Like the things I keep around me and the things I let go, the things I give away, or I take it off to maybe somebody else would like to have this thing now, or this involvement, like a position. So if it's your work, there can be a time where it's time to let somebody else have that experience, and it's time for you to move into a new experience that's about your growth, about what would really bring you more satisfaction and fulfillment in your life, which isn't always about something like a monetary sum.
Right.
It can be more about what you're doing and who you're with and what that becomes as a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when we just open ourselves up that we could at least survive, just entertain that, these choices where your attachment wouldn't let you go, like I could never do that. Like, well, just, yes, you could. Yes, I could. So I think I just tried to deceive myself. Like I could do that. It's more a matter, do I want to, and what would happen if I did? What if I made that choice? And see if you can be realistic. You know, when we do things like, I'll never love again, I'll never love again. It's like, you're going to love again. It'll probably be, you know, a matter of hours. But, you know, but that if we were just being realistic, but that when we're attached to drama and we're attached to being right, we often, you know, kind of distort what we're really looking at. We're not allowing ourselves to move. And Jared talked about being in flow, that if we are willing to be in flow and trust that our life is taking us where we really belong in our greater intentions. You know, let's say to be happy, to be healthy, to be what real wealth and prosperous is, to have these kinds of experience, to be in a loving that keeps renewing itself. You know, that every day it's like a new love. It's born again in some way. Well, how will we move into that position? And let's consider that we would need to be detached a great deal so that we're open and available to the new experiences that are coming forward for our greater satisfaction, our greater growth.
What it sounds like for me, rather than starting from here and trying to let go, to really put myself in that place of ultimate freedom and detachment, and then see what I want to bring back in. I kind of work from the opposite end might be a better strategy.
You remind me, my father was in the military and he was kind of a neatnik. Anybody know what that term means? Yeah, maybe if you were in a military family, you know what I'm talking about. Did you ever do the military corner on the bed? How about the coin that bounces off the tension of the blanket, you know? I did not master these things, by the way. But I remember my father was after me for, it seemed like a long time, but it was probably like a few days, about cleaning the room that I also shared with my older brother. It's like, well, why doesn't he have to clean the room? It's like, well, you know, he's got other responsibilities or something like that. I want you to clean the room. So then at some point I got into something like malicious obedience. Do you know what that is? Like you do it, but you sort of do it in a way that is like the letter, and you try to make somebody wrong by doing exactly what they said or something. So then my malicious obedience, I decided I would take everything out of the room, including our bunk beds. And then I think my father was more entertained by this than I thought it would be like bothered him. Like, what are you doing? Or you said clean the room. So how can I clean the room if there's stuff on the floor? I had to get everything off the floor. I had to get everything out of the closets. How could I get things in the corner if it's clean? I got to get the stuff out of here. And so then I was kind of surprised with my father, like, okay, yeah, that's good. Keep going. Well, it became something on the order of an all-day project. But when it came time to put things back in the room, a lot of things stayed out. Because there was something in my awareness that said, I don't want that back in the room. It doesn't, because I also cleaned things. I cleaned the floors, the walls, the windows. And then at some point it became something I got energized by. If you ever see Cool Hand Luke and the scene where they do the road, something like that happened to me. So I got into it. And it was really a great experience in my life. And my father was actually proud at the end of the day, because you did a really great job with what I asked you. And it was like we had this moment where I felt like he knew that if he kind of insisted that I could discover something I didn't really know about. And I just look at like experiences where we're attached. If we just give ourselves often a chance to experience, well, what would happen if I didn't have that? If I let myself do what I don't want to do, or let something else come in that I don't like or I think I don't want, that often it's a liberator of some kind. Anybody ever been liberated by being fired? Or someone left you and you thought well, I'll never be able to live without him, and then it's like, no, this is good. This is I'm starting to experience things I didn't know I was missing, and and the thing that we were resisting and avoiding becomes our liberator.
I've had a number of those experiences in my life, yeah. I think I have to learn how to do
I'm
this.
sure we all have, when you think about it.
I think I have to learn how to do that process without being malicious to myself. I mean, it most feels like I have to be brutal to rip the attachments, and I want to do it with loving and compassion. And I think you've kind of painted a picture for me of how I might be able to do that and potential freedom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John.
We'll make it right there, yep.
Okay, one of the things, hi,
Would
I'm
you start
Janet.
out with your name?
Yes, I'm Janet, hello. One of the things that all of this reminds me of is something that JR said one time when he said, if a little kid ever falls down and is crying because they hurt themselves, all you have to say to them is, that's gonna stop hurting. It's gonna stop hurting when it doesn't hurt anymore. You're gonna stop crying. In other words, it won't hurt anymore when it stops hurting. That was the term that he used. It won't hurt anymore when it stops hurting. And then it'll be over. And I guess the thing that I was tuning into about that was that there are so many things as I'm looking at this board that I have just recently started to realize that I'm attached to. Maybe it's a food, maybe it's an emotion, and it's something that I think that, by God, I just have to have, and my life is miserable if I don't. And there's this other part of me now that says, that'll go away in just a minute if you'll wait. And so the patience to say that you want that right now, doesn't mean that means that you have to put everything down and go do it. Now, there are some things in life it's very important that happens. But I'm talking about things that are like attachment type things or addictive type things. That I will feel like, I don't know if it's an argument that I have with my basic self over these things, or maybe I'm starting to be able to consciously direct more of that type of thing in my own life. But I really do realize that so much of attachment is temporal. And that is sort of like, as soon as you think you've got a hold of it, if you really look at it, you don't. And that piece of chocolate's already gone by the time you think about it. Or the cigarette is smoked, or something else has happened, and then what do you got to do? You got to do it again. So what were you trying to get in the first place? Is I guess where I'm at right now with all of that for me. And I would just rather go straight there instead of have to wait for something to pass. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, or if that makes any sense at all.
Whatever is coming to mind is like, have you ever shopped when you're hungry and then look at what you ended up getting, then shopped when either you were going off of a list or you weren't really hungry, you were just getting things because of some level of knowing what would be your need. But the things I end up buying when I'm hungry are like, what? It's almost like, don't shop when you're hungry, or when you're emotional is not a great time to have an honest discussion often, because the emotions tend to move the waters of what's being spoken. And one of the values is to just be honest in what you're experiencing. Like, I really want that, or I have a lot of attachment to that, or I'm feeling some sense of threat, or I'm worried that, I'm going to be losing out. But just to be honest in your feelings can help neutralize them. And also let other people, if you're involved with other people, be aware, like maybe we should do this at another time, or in some way know, what's beneath the surface that is like an iceberg that we might run into.
Okay, thank you.
God bless you. Okay, just put on a happy face right over here with Sophia. You want to stand up, Sophia? Then it's easier for them to know where you are. There you go.
Well, when we did in the group of three, when we did it, I thought it would be more like it was very open, and it was very cool because it was not like, oh, I don't really want to say this. It was just more like open. That was cool, and it was a good process because it was fun too.
Okay, thank you. So back here.
Nice to see you, John, and everyone, long-timers, newcomers. As the evening's been progressing, I'm realizing...
Can you say your name? I didn't...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Quite hear it.
Sabrina, alias Andrea. I've been realizing that I have an attachment that is almost systemic. I've had it for a very long time. And the attachment is to complication, difficulty, and it has to do with my creative nature. I can always find something more to do that basically leaves the job incomplete. And
anybody know that one? Yeah, I know that one.
And I realize that I play a game, so I'm attached to a game with myself that is actually not so much fun anymore.
Are you aware of why you are putting off completion?
Good. Well, I'd have to think of something new to do, or what I completed might not be so good, might not be interesting or accepted, and I might not get paid.
Okay. I think you just hit on it, because it tends to have energy when you get on to where the attachment is. It's either an energy like stuff it back down, or it's an energy like it has to come out, and sometimes if it's been really stuffed down, it will come out effusively or more like a volcano. And so when you have energy on something, that's an attachment. Either energy like you don't want to deal with it, or you go unconscious, where it's hard to talk about it. These are signs. But I heard, what connected, and so I'm listening with the bell that rings true when something's connecting. Like my bell recognizes what's true for you. So if I put my bell on to ring true when you're ringing your bell, like, this is it. This is what's up when I don't complete things. I'm worried that it won't be good according to who? If it's good enough for you. And there's plenty of, I'm going to call them artists, but there's plenty of people that have produced something in life that many did not find worthy or approving of, and then when it finally was, let's say, discovered or accepted by somebody, it's as though the world discovered it. So what was it about it that initially others didn't recognize it? And sometimes it's just people's own prejudices and biases about what their attachments are. Well, it's not a this, it should be a this. And it's like, when something's on a trend, when something's going to be Harry Potter, and maybe there's nothing like that. Like maybe, no, this is, like how many rejections did that woman get? I think quite a few. And I'm just pointing out one of many stories that if it's really what you're wanting to do for your own completion, that's what's important. Even if it outwardly does not meet up. I'm going to kind of refer back to something that J.R. was saying earlier, that and I allow other people to do the same thing, but the habit of letting ourselves exteriorize has to be brought under new conscious control, where we're bringing it back inside. So what we put out there as the reason for doing things, it needs to be brought here, that the reason that you're doing something is for your completion. And even if it doesn't sell or someone doesn't agree that your completion is important, it can still be something where you realize, I want to do that, I want to have that experience, so that you keep going, you keep bringing it into the world. I'm sure if we went into museums today, we'd find treasures, masterpieces, that in the lifetime of the person who created them, they were not. So it's like, well, what was going on in their lifetime, and that it wasn't recognized, it wasn't approved, it wasn't valued. And now it's a world treasure. And often a person is onto something that's important, at least for you, like do this, you're being chosen to bring this forward, even while the world doesn't understand it or appreciate it. I love street artists, personally. I don't know if you have that same point of view, but I just look at them often, it's like I have to do this. I have to share this, even if you don't share some of your spare change or whatever it is. And I appreciate that they have the audacity or whatever it is that I'm going to do this. There was is it Joshua Bell, or he's a very well-known violinist? And he's the one that sang in the New York subway or Washington, in D.C., and then people didn't pay much attention to a world-class violinist playing for free. And I loved, that he was willing to do something like that, and kind of maybe to himself, like, oh, you think you're so hot, you think you're so great. Like these people just walk by and they read the newspaper, they're on their cell phone, and they're not listening to what you're playing. You're not getting them to pay attention to you with your great gift. And what is that?
I would like to thank you for that, and also say that there's part of me that's very sad because I was an award winner in college, and the gift had not been distributed in 15 years, so I was able to pay for my first year in graduate school. And when I went to the Illinois Institute of Design and Photography, the teacher called me the girl with the golden eye. And he didn't call anyone else anything near that. And I remember that all these years, because I've never made the golden eye really reach maybe a few people, and I certainly haven't been financially successful through my God-given talents. So as you've been talking so peacefully, and the room is so peaceful now, I realize that beyond my tone, that one thing I can do is design and write my affirmations and just give thanks. Just give thanks for the freedom that I was able to take, because I didn't know any other way to live, being an ADHD girl from way back. I took the freedom, and it's cost me, for instance, the vision in my right eye. I can see, but I just built websites for a church that may go under. And I realize now that because of the exercise, that the thing that I need is to just give thanks for my ability to create boundaries and to say it's over. The manuscript is finished. I'll maybe pay a few $100s to self-publish, not lament the agent that I had 15 years ago, the best one at Julian Bach, and to understand that I've been fearful of how I could make it, and that I've wrestled with discipline problems. And I want to see my sister, and I know right now that I will find the way, to make my life successful so that I can go see her. And I'm just so grateful to you, to all of us.
God bless
Because
you.
I know I'm not alone in adding on in our own way to the God-given mystical traveler exercises. That's what I'd like to do, and I hope that's okay. John Rogers
It's
not
okay.
saying, no, you can't do
it's,
that.
It's okay. We're doing it right here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you. That young man on the aisle back there, yeah.
Hi, my name is Thomas. I love that list of things. It looks like my life. There's a very popular song right now that's very beautiful and that's on the airwaves all the time, where the singer gives a list of his artifacts that he's attached to. My house in Budapest, my hidden treasure chest, my beautiful, my golden grand piano, my beautiful Castillo. The list goes on. And he says, for you, I'd give it all up. And when I listen to that song, I know that he's singing, I'm pretty sure that that singer is singing about someone that he's in love with, but it could very well be yourself, that you give things up by choice. And although I see my life, I see some things I'm still attached to. I see some things that I used to be attached to. And I don't feel guilt about it. It's rather exciting. Love you.
Love you too. Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from one more right here.
Hi, I'm Pamela Riley. Wonderful to be here. I got my wedding, my reception was in this room. And you guys had brought me here, and I got divorced. And I was attached to not getting divorced. And I got sad and I got angry, and it showed up in my body. And one of the kind of masters said, "Oh, well, you have breast cancer. It must be in your right breast. That's a divorced breast." And I'm like, "Well, look at there." And I was like a week out from surgery, and I said, "But you know what? If I don't figure out why I got this, it's just going to show up in the left one if they cut one off. So if somehow this isn't the path." So I stepped back out, and I feel like I did the work of forgiveness, and just, I don't know what it was, and I got the death letters from Memorial Sloan Kettering going, "You're gonna die." And I'm like, ooh, that's a good letter, But I really said, no, there's a different detaching from the belief I had around what was going on. And about a year ago, I got a clean bill of health. They're like, without any of that stuff. And I was like, that's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, detachment, the flow, John Rogers said the flow regenerates. My body regenerated because I got back in the flow. And I just recently have moved to a place, I mean, the size of the corner, but I got rid of so much stuff, and you step out and I'm just in heaven. It's just like I can see the Queens to Jersey to Times Square. It's just like a place for me to flourish. And the place that I'm noticing that I'm still not having figured out was money. The way I have it wired, my attachment to how it looks is you work and sometimes do things you don't really want to do for money. And I just noticed, you said, well, what would happen if I let go of that? How would I feel? I'd feel better than I do now, doing some things in my life I don't want to do and things like that. So I just noticed that's the one for me, is the money one has always been. And when you just said don't shop when you're hungry, it's like, well, it's almost like I'm hungry for money, and therefore I'm shopping when I'm hungry. So maybe I need to figure something else out so I'm not so hungry as I go and change the world with, changing the laws around all the stuff that I went through and stuff like that. So, thank you.
Have you considered that if you didn't have any money, you'd still be fed?
Yes. I wouldn't live in the apartment. It's the home. It's the home part of the money. I'd be fed, that kind of thing. I think it's not the food. And it's not the happiness. Money doesn't, I really get no relevance in my happiness, but it gives me a home that's gorgeous. It's tiny, but that's where my attachment is, so.
Right. Thank you for your sharing. God bless you.
Thank you.
So let's take a moment to ignite the freedom that's been stirring up here. The idea that there's something going on that would be leading all of us to experiences of much greater value if we would trust our inner guidance, when we have the courage to let go of whatever we're attached to, that when we're in a free state, we're most available to what would serve us in the greatest way. When we're attached, we tend to be in some way not available. We're not necessarily available to make the choice. We're not necessarily available to give up what we need to give up in order to make room for what would serve us in greater ways. So just take a moment inside for whatever you would say to yourself that would assist you in what you're aware of right now you want to create in your life. And whatever that is, let yourself see it. So it is something in some way you can see. You can see it in your imagination. You can also hear a sound or sounds that would relate to it. And of course, awaken all the senses. So you could smell, taste, and touch. Every part of you would be alive in this experience. That you would be fully available to derive the full value of whatever your freedom is calling you to experience. And let's make it something real so that it's tangible. It's what you can see in your life, where you are right now. That you're in a state of freedom right now. And whatever is calling to you that would serve you in the best way, that your awareness is available to moving and flowing with how that process would work for you. In the movement of spiritual inner awareness, we call it the highest good of all concerned. So all is considered. Everything is in harmony in a state of freedom. And this is a state that takes a divine knowledge, a divine wisdom, and a divine love. So let's consider we can completely make ourselves harmonious to the state of the beloved, the state of liberation that we know as our true self, our true nature. And let's consider that it's so powerful that others would, in their own way, move in harmony with this state of freedom. And so powerful, everything would come into harmony with the state of freedom. And now bring it present, however you would do that you can hear yourself say, I accept, I choose, I become this freedom. Beirish Beshan. So thank you for the opportunity to be sharing in the freedom that we all have together. God bless you all, and I'll see you around the bend.